Hello, Lauren. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to be talking with you today because your story is a little different than most. And I don't know, I've just been keeping an eye on you in the community. Not to sound creepy or anything. But yeah, so I'm really, really excited to hear you get to share more of your story. Yeah, so I guess we can just like dig right in. I think the best place to start is kind of like where life was right before, you found us, right your way to freedom, and then kind of walk us through that and then bring us up to today. And I'll ask you questions along the way too. So,
Okay. So, first, like
well, first, who
quick
are you? Where
copywriter.
are you? Who are
I'm
you?
Lauren. I'm
Yeah,
a
yeah,
health and
yeah.
wellness copywriter, former PTA. That's physical therapist assistant for anyone not in the healthcare community. So that's where I was before copywriting. I was going through a divorce and working in healthcare. And then the pandemic hit. And not only was I going through a divorce and learning how to be a single mom while working in healthcare and then homeschooling my son at my work while going through a pandemic. I was like, there has to be a better way. Like this is not the life I want, and so you have like all those stressors on top of everything, and you're like, okay, well, I want to go on vacation, and like starting to go through all of the, questioning all of the norms and stuff. And it's like, I want to go on vacation. Like when I need mental health days, forget about it. You know what I mean? And you know, if I got vacation, I got the time off, I earned that 40-hour week off or whatever. I couldn't do two in a row. So like one of my dreams is to go to India, and I couldn't do that because I would have to take more than 1 week off at a time. And I'm
Right.
just like, this is just not working for me. And then, when I saw my dad work in healthcare his whole life, work his butt off in order to, with this dream of retirement, all these things he was going to do in retirement. And then he retired early because he had to fight cancer, and then he died. And so like he never got to live his life. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't want that. I want to live my life now. And I want to provide for my son. I want him to have vacations, and I want him to do all these things. Right. So I looked into a different path. I found a course for content writing, started doing that. I'm like, okay, this might be where it's at. There's where I met my first mentor, who helped me understand what copywriting was and establish my business. So I started working as a copywriter, was eventually able to leave my healthcare job. And let me tell you, the last day in healthcare, it was like I had just lost 20 pounds, and I was just like breathing for the first time.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Yeah.
it was amazing. And so, but working working full time and everything as a copywriter, and it was like, okay, I'm getting these clients, things are going well. But then, like you have those setbacks. Oh, it's holiday time. Nobody wants to, sign new contracts. And so I was making money, but just not quite enough, like making it by the skin of my teeth, and whittling down on my savings and stuff. And then March came around, and my mentor sent me one of your YouTube videos. And she's like, oh, you gotta check this person out. She does these amazing like sales funnels, and it's just like a whole new way of thinking about copywriting in this systemic way instead of just these singular tasks.
Mm.
um and so I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And so I started binge watching your videos.
I didn't know that. That's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, well, let me just like see what this course is about. Cause I'm like, and when we had our call, I'm like, so I'm already a copywriter. I'm already working in copywriting. Like I'm making money
Mhm.
technically,
Yeah.
and I've been doing it for a hot minute. So I'm like, I don't know how much of the course will benefit me. And you went over everything with me. Like, let's look at your website. Let's talk about your business strategy. What's client acquisition like, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, I really think mindset is what's holding you back.
Mhm.
And girl, when I went into that course and I started like learning about like the mindset stuff, I started reading the books that you recommended. I kid you not, 2 weeks into it, everything transformed. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's it. I have superpowers. I can manifest anything. This is amazing, and right out the gate, I had my biggest month yet. And since then, I have gotten clients that I love, doing work I believe in, long-term contracts, not just like, oh, let's do 1 month and like, let's see how it goes and stuff like that. Like, and it's just been like, holy crap.
Yes, I love that. I know. So for anyone who doesn't know, in the last year, we've switched to now anyone joining Right Your Way to Freedom actually has to do an onboarding call. And initially I was doing the calls as we were building our wonderful team of people who are now helping me with that. And so we had an opportunity to talk, and then we like looked at everything you were doing, and I was just like, man, you're so on the cusp. You're on the cusp. And I know you were so just like frustrated. And I don't
I was
know.
chomping at the bit because I felt it too. Like I was like, I can get clients, like I can do good work, like why am I not passing this breaking point? Like why am I not breaking this amount per month? Why am I not getting retainers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it just like immediately, like I'm just like seeing your wins in the community. I was like, oh my gosh, there it is. I knew it.
Yeah, it
So
was so fast.
you
I was
mentioned,
so blown away.
me too. You mentioned when you were actually real quick, just before we move on, what are some of the biggest like mindset takeaways? Like what are the things that have like really stuck with you that you feel like you've implemented that were part of that big shift?
Value mindset.
Yeah.
Your emphasis on providing value and reframing everything with this this abundance mentality of I'm going to give freely because I'm just that type of person. And that was like very aligned with who I am and
Mhm.
stuff. But I always had this like feeling like, oh, I don't want to give away the milk for free, like that type of idea. And then I shifted it and like really started seeing like, okay, what value can I bring to them? And how can like they get off a call with me and be like, oh my God, I learned something. She's already helping me and I haven't even paid her yet.
Yeah.
That was a huge shift in like as far as business mindset goes for me. And then like your book recommendations and stuff were super helpful.
That's amazing. No, that's huge. That was a mindset shift for me too, that I went through, because I had a period in time where I was, writing, and I was definitely stuck in a scarcity mindset and had the whole thing about, because I always say like never work for free, but like when you're on that discovery call, like be super helpful, right? So that they walk away from it being like, dang, if this is what like a discovery call with her is like, then I can't even imagine what working with her is like. And I used to have the belief like, oh, if I give away too much, or if I like give them too much advice, then they'll like get what they need and not want to continue working with me. And so for me, that's like a mindset shift that I had to go through. And I think it just translates, like, I don't know, I've worked with so many freelancers who clearly have a scarcity mindset, and it's like palpable, where you're just like,
Yeah.
this person is not in a good place.
And
And
you first said to me,
it makes you scared to work with them.
yeah. And like when you first said to me, like mindset, you really think mindset was my issue? I'm like the most positive person ever. Like, I was just like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And that was the shift. Like that, it wasn't that I was like negative. It wasn't that I had a lot of imposter syndrome, it was literally just that I was not going from a service out of a place of service. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't coming from a place of service and love. And instead I was just like, yes, I can do this for you. And when you sign my contract and give me money, I will be awesome. But
Right.
yet until then, I'm not,
Right. It's like an emphasis on relationship building,
Yes.
which is also, those are the kinds of clients you want to work with, like the ones that you build like a strong relationship with. And that's also like, I mean, that's a big emphasis that we have in like the program, is like, that's how you also get an opportunity to write different types of copy. Like you can totally like create a portfolio for a different type of copy that you don't really have a lot of experience with, and then like start going after clients for that type of copy specifically. But I prefer the organic way where you're like, you build relationships and then you just start helping people more and more and more. And then you have this like holistic way of helping them with like all their different marketing elements. And it's just like,
Yes, like when I was on a call, one of the coaching calls, one of the many coaching calls that you do, which is another highlight that I love, by the way. But I think it was Shelly was saying that like she just works with people that she vibes with. It doesn't have to be like in any specific niche. It could be everything from this to that, but it's the vibe, it's the relationship. And so I'm like, oh, that is so awesome. And one of my early clients that I got after starting your program was a really, really niche company, but I'm like, where have you been all my life? I freaking love this. And now like we actually like have a more than just a professional relationship. Like we're planning a trip to India now because he teaches
going to India.
Yeah, he teaches he does these workshops in India, and I'm like, all right, let's go to India, let's do it. And he's like, yes, absolutely, next year we're going to India, and so like we have a long-term contract, we have a good relationship. I'm like, this is amazing. This is what I signed up for.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I love that. And it's interesting. I love that you talked about like working with people that you vibe with, because another shift that like we're kind of talking about, moving from scarcity to like an abundant mindset, is actually like learning to say no. And I think that's like counterintuitive for people who are starting out in this process, because you're starting out, you're feeling frantic, you're really like trying to make money so you can pay your bills, and you're nervous and you're new. And so you just say yes to everything and anything, like, like $50 to like, I don't know, like do some work that's not actually going to have an impact on that person's business. But that ultimately like burns you out, wears you out, drains you, frustrates you. And so moving into a place as quickly as possible, even if you have to fake it till you make it, where you're like, okay, I'm going to say yes to the people that are like truly in alignment with me. Like that is where the work gets rewarding and exciting, and it brings more ease into your days, and you're thrilled to work with your clients. And then at that point, you only need like a few clients to like make what you want to make and have a full workload. And it's so good.
Yeah. And before I officially started the program and stuff, I was getting to that thinking of, okay, I might have to pick up a part-time job back in healthcare, or I might have to start taking some of these content mill kind of jobs just to pay the bills and stuff. And I feel like I was like kind of like oozing desperation, and I was cutting people a lot of slack on things and stuff, and I was so afraid to say no. And now I had a call recently that I'm just like, I don't think it's a good fit. I just genuinely don't think it's a good fit. And so I put a thing on the opportunity board, and I got a whole list of people that may be a better fit for them, and I am not like panicking, like I'm going to like lose out on this huge opportunity. And now I'm like, no, I might actually give like a great opportunity to somebody else who really needs it.
And it's like clients are kind of like finding like good friends, you know what I mean? You like, just because it's not a good fit for you doesn't mean that it's not a great fit for other people. I mean, I've definitely had clients where I was like, ugh, is this even a good fit for anyone? And then I like reminded myself that, we all get along with different people differently, pass those opportunities off. And then people would come back to me and be like, I love this client. And I'm like, good, because I don't. I'm so glad you guys are happy together.
Like, yeah, exactly.
And it's such a good feeling to kind of like be that connector too. So I love that. So you had mentioned that within 5 months of joining Write Your Way to Freedom, you surpassed a goal that you thought was a million miles away. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Like not even like, more like just a few weeks, like 5 months. I've just been like continuously just growing, and things are going great. But like my big milestone happened in April.
Do you mind sharing with us what it was?
Yeah. So my first goal, my first financial goal was to make basically my bills.
Yeah,
And so
that's
I didn't,
important.
yeah, like I didn't just like make my bills. I passed it. I went to, I think I was at like $4,500 that month. And that
Yes.
was the biggest month that I had, like in my whole history of being a copywriter. Actually, even in my whole time in healthcare, I never made that amount per month.
Wow.
And
Wow. That was just a
yeah,
few weeks. And then you're just
yeah.
you've
And
kept
it's just
growing.
kept building, because now I have these other clients that I have long-term contracts with, and it's just like building and building and building. So I'm like, I passed 5,000, I passed 7,000. Now I'm like, what? I can't
What?
believe this is my life. And
Insane.
so
And when did you sign
yes.
up? It's been like
I think it was mid-March. Yeah,
mid-March.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like mid-March, and
May,
then in
June,
the
July,
beginning
August.
of,
5 months. You're at like 7K a month.
yeah, and
Ah,
like,
nice.
yeah, and and like the other thing too is with that desperation that I was in before, I'm just like, so I don't want to work with diet culture, I don't want to work with healthcare, like those are big things to me. But I was so desperate, you
Mhm.
know that I'm like, okay, let me just maybe I'm just gonna have to deal with these medi spas and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I was just like, it went against everything inside my body. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. And now I don't have to do that. Like I like right away, right after joining, I signed with a company, or I did some work for a company that, like, it was banned. Any diet culture language, weight loss,
Yes.
anything like that was banned. You couldn't say it. I'm like, yes.
You are my people. You are my
Yeah.
people. There's some comments about wanting to like just, make enough to hit your bills and then eventually get to where you are. And I just want to like kind of speak to that for a second, because I mean, when I was first starting out, my goals were to just cover my bills. My goals were to like just like basics, you know what I mean? And so I just want to like encourage you guys, because that's where it starts. And then you get to a place where you get in the process and you can repeat it. I mean, I just wanted to be able to like sometimes be able to eat out and like not just get water, and also not have to check my bank account before I like went to eat out with friends. Like it was like I
Yeah.
wanted to be able to like afford avocado on my sandwiches. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's like I remember the first time I got avocado, I was like, yeah, put that extra avocado on there, $1.50, no big deal. Like
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like now after starting and talking to some of the coaches and stuff like that, seeing where they are, seeing where some of the other students are and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, let's start dreaming. Like before, it was like my goal was to hit 5,000, and like I almost hit it that very first month. And so I'm like, oh no, let's keep dreaming. And so my next target is 10,000. And like the more tangible goal that's attached to that is, so that way, don't tell my mom this, but I want to pay her way to Italy.
oh
And so I
yes.
want to get a whole family vacation and pay for me, my son, and my mom to take a trip to Italy to see our ancestry, and to have like this beautiful European vacation that we were supposed to do for her 60th birthday in 2020 when the
Oh,
pandemic hit.
right, right.
So
Oh, I love goals like that. That just gave me chills. That's amazing.
yeah,
That's
so
so
like I'm literally like I'm meditating on like just seeing me, my son, and my mom at a little cafe in Venice, like every
yeah.
day.
I love that. For me, one of my goals, I actually it just reminds me of it, is I wanted to take my older sister. She was a single mom, and she like that's all she did. And she never traveled but wanted to travel, and so one of mine was to take her to Thailand. And so we got to go, like just the two of us, to Thailand for a week. And I mean, I've never laughed so hard in my entire life. Like we were just like crying, laughing the whole time. It was such an amazing experience. So I
Yeah,
really can't wait to hear when you drop that in the Wednesday wins, because it's like right around the corner for sure.
I'm so excited because like I was officially going to use my passport in April of 2020
Uh-huh.
when that was the first time I was going to use my passport, and I have not been able to do it. And I was just like, scrounging for money and borrowing money in order to like take this trip. And then it was canceled. And I'm just like, I was so close to my goal of being able to travel.
Uh,
And now I'm like planning 2 international trips next summer, and also planning on paying somebody else's, 2 other people's way to
yes.
take this trip with me. And I'm just like, this is my life. Is this going to
Yes.
be my life? Like, this is
Yes,
amazing.
yes, yes. And I love that you're like, this is my life. Not like, is this real? Like, is it gonna go? Because
Hmm.
it's just gonna keep getting better. And I'm
Yeah,
so
because now I'm like, now I know the formula. Now I
yes.
can, like if something happens, something falls through for whatever reason, I know the formula to make it happen again.
Yeah. You just go right out and get that next client and it's okay. And
Hmm.
every time that happens, you gain more and more confidence because it's scary the first time you like lose the client, but then you're like, I know what to do. And then you're like,
Yeah.
you feel invincible. You're like, I got this.
Yeah.
So, I love that so much, Lauren. That's like all just super amazing. Could you maybe share with us a little bit about kind of what your day looks like? More like we know that you're kind of hitting 7K months. How many hours are you working? And what niche are you in? Actually, that was one of the questions somebody asked.
So I'm in health and wellness, and I always kind of felt like I had to like narrow it down more. But I am in health and wellness, but I don't like doing things for healthcare.
Yes.
So I avoid that. I actually do a lot of stuff in mindfulness space, and then also supplements. And so it's like those two things. And so but yeah, in I drop my son off at school, well, when it's not summertime. And then from 9 to 10 is my self-care hour, to where I do my workouts, my meditation, I eat my nice healthy breakfast. And it's just like, this is the time for me, because I was burning myself out before, working like ridiculous hours, just marketing my little buns off, and just trying to just get more clients, do things and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, if I burn myself out, I'm just not going to be useful to anybody. I'm not going
Mm,
to get my dreams. And so I had to start budgeting time to take care of myself.
yes.
So I have
Yes.
my self-care hour.
I love
Um, and then after that, I will do some work, do some writing, or, I don't do the cold emails anymore. I did like one swoop of that, and then I'm like, great, that was awesome, I'm done. I don't like it. And so I'm like, hey, if I don't like it, I'm not gonna do it. And so I started doing more of like the LinkedIn
yeah.
strategy, with just like making connections and talking to people and stuff. And it's like, it's a slower method, but you know what, it'll be better for me. And
Yeah.
so I'll do a little bit of that at each day. I think I spend like maybe 30 minutes on LinkedIn
Mhm.
tops a day. And then at noon I have an alarm to tell me to eat, because my ADHD won't let me leave the computer. So I have
Yeah.
an alarm to tell me this.
I so relate to that. I so relate
Yeah.
to
And
that.
then sometimes I'll come back and do a bit more. 3 o'clock comes around, I have another alert to tell me to clean something. And so I'll go clean something.
That is amazing.
Yeah. And then go get my son. And so last week I actually, now that I'm busier and stuff like that, I'm like, let me just see how many hours I'm working.
Mhm.
Last week I put in, without counting the coaching call and the work sessions that I do with you guys, like every single one,
Yes.
um without counting that, I worked 15 hours on writing total
That's
that whole week.
incredible. Incredible. I love your reminders like to eat, to like go clean something. These are so good. And I love that you found a system that works for you. Like truly. That is like what this
Yeah.
is all about, is figuring out like what works for you.
Yeah. And I mean, like in May, one of my best friends died.
Oh my God.
And so like, to have the freedom to just be like, I can't, I can't work today, and I'm not going to. I'm just going to go and sit by the water and just cry.
Yeah.
And like, just to have, that was one of the times that I'm like, oh my God, like I run my own business to where I can take care of myself. I can take care of my mental health. If that day I just wake up and I'm just tired, and I don't feel like it, I don't have to do it, you know? And now after like I'm tracking things, you know, to try and like get a good idea of how long something on average takes me, like how long does it take me to write a blog? And so I started tracking that so that way I could plan better.
Yes.
And so I'm like, okay, you know what? I only have these things to do. That's a total of about 10 hours of work. I could do that between these 2 days. Okay, I'm not working today. I literally went one of the weeks, I think I worked 2 days out of the week because I was busy like moving stuff and doing a bunch of things to help my mom when she broke her ankle and stuff. And so I'm like, I have the capacity to do this and still meet my deadlines.
Yes.
You know,
Oh my
it's the
gosh.
best.
I love that. I love that so much. I love how much of a system you've gotten down. Like you really like nailed it down. And that takes some time and also takes like some serious self-awareness and prioritizing yourself first, which I think is so, again, it's one of those things that's so counterintuitive. I think because we've been trained by capitalism to just be
Yes.
like machines. And it's like, yeah, just remembering that when you are your own boss and an entrepreneur, taking the time to take care of yourself is top priority because it spills over into all your work.
100%. Oh my gosh. When you know, I had COVID at one point and I was like still trying to work with like 102-degree fever and everything like that. I'm like, I run my own business. What am I doing? So that was pre write your rate of freedom
Yes.
mentality. And
Yeah.
I was still like in that, you know, conditioned mentality that like, oh, you have a cold, you're sick, you just push through, you know, like
Yeah.
suck it
Yeah.
up, buttercup, let's go. You know.
Buttercup. I love that. How did you choose and define your niche?
So I have the PTA
Background.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I also have a certification in holistic health coaching
Mm-hmm.
and also am a yoga instructor or had a
So it's like
certification
you're where
in
you're
yoga. And
like,
so I'm like, you know what? I want to do a little bit of everything. I really, really, really wanted to do stuff that was more like mentally focused, more mindset, more meditation and things like that. But you know, I was like, okay, let me just do health and wellness. So that way, like I have all of the options. I'm a Gemini and I have ADHD. I'm like, okay, I need other things. Like I need many things to hold my attention.
yes.
So yeah, so
Oh,
I just
that's
have it
good.
really
It's
broad.
nice and broad enough that you get that variety.
Yeah,
And I find it interesting that you're like, I like to work in the health and wellness space, but I don't work for healthcare.
I don't
That's
like
a
it.
no. You don't like it.
I
That's
feel like it's just like just because I worked in it and stuff. It's just and I grew up in it. My parents were healthcare workers as well. And I'm just like, now it's just got a bad taste in my mouth. I'm like, I don't have to, so I'm not going to.
exactly. Oh my gosh. I remember the day I remember that where I was like, wait a second, I'm in charge here. uh,
Yeah. And like that was a big thing too. Like I don't have to ask permission to live my life.
no.
That was the thing that was just like, I can literally do anything I want, you know, like I don't have to ask my boss if I could have a mental health day when my friend dies, you know, I don't have to do that stuff. I don't have to go through the guilt trip of like, oh, now we have to find coverage, you know, like all of that junk.
Mm-hmm.
And I can actually take care of myself. I can take care of my son. You know, when he had COVID and he had to miss 2 weeks of school, I'm like, okay, well, we'll just stay home together. It's fine. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. No, it's huge. It's huge to have control over your life and your days and to not put yourself last. Like
Mm-hmm.
massive, massive game changer. So there was a question that was submitted. It sounds like this person knows you. They said, I'm so proud of you and happy to know you. And they're talking about how they're working on a website, web copy for a client. And they were wondering if you had any suggestions or advice on how to approach doing a complete reform of a website or doing their website copy. For example, would you approach it any differently from a blog? And if so, how? It's always so hard for me not to answer these. I'm going to let you take it away. I have
Yes,
opinions.
that is my nerd bestie, Brandon. We
Yeah.
yeah, we chat all the time about our little nerd
Brandon. Oh,
subjects.
Brandon's here.
Yep.
Hi.
Hi. So yeah, I would so in the copy coaching sessions,
Mhm.
um Kristen has a really awesome one. I'm pretty sure she did it in April. She has a really great coaching session that really breaks down every bit of writing a web page. Her focus on this one was a sales page, but like I have found that this general method is pretty applicable to like a homepage and things like that. And just like the way she talks about understanding the customer. That was something that I didn't always do a great job with, is to have like a full deep understanding of the customer, you know, and so and like frame everything to speak directly to that pain point, to that lifestyle or whatever. And so she talks a really like gives a lot of really good advice about how to find that information. Which
there's also one coming up this week that's on market research and finding voice of customer. So pretty sure it's on Thursday. So definitely like check that out. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So I always love to kind of wrap up with, if you could go talk to yourself right before, you know, you signed up for Write Your Way to Freedom, and you give yourself a little pep talk, or even just like words of advice. What would you tell yourself?
Maybe
or at the beginning of your copywriting journey.
At the beginning of my copywriting
Either
journey.
one.
I mean, like, honestly, if I could tell myself anything, I would tell my younger self to not go into healthcare and to follow my original dream of being a writer. And so that's one thing for sure. But I don't know. It's the mentality thing, like really was a big thing. Just like to tell myself, just like work from a value mindset. I'm one of those people who just like can't stop learning. Like if I stop learning, I die. And so I'm always doing a course. I'm like, I was doing my other mentorship course and taking an SEO course and taking a digital marketing course. And I'm just like, and then when I started with you guys, everyone kept saying like, Lauren, don't overconsume, like don't go into overconsumption or whatever. I'm like, no, that's just how I live. Like, that's just me. That was the thing. Like, I think maybe some of the book recommendations would have been really, really handy, like back when I first started. When I was first looking at content writing and stuff, like the Breakthrough Copy book would have been super helpful to just be like, oh no, this is better. Let's do this. Yeah.
That was my story too. As I started in content, I was actually intimidated by copy. And then I just was like, this is the more useful thing.
I'm pretty sure we started with the same program. I'm pretty sure that's what my mentor told me.
I don't think so, because I didn't start with a program. I did no program for about 4 years. I just kind of winged it for a long, long time. But so is there anything else though that you want to make sure you covered? Did we cover everything?
Oh, no, I have a random thing that I was just watching a video earlier today, and it was talking about Kung Fu Panda. And then I just had like an aha moment, and I have decided that I am Master Shifu and you are Master Oogway, because although I knew what I was doing, you were the one who like gave me those little nuggets of wisdom that set me on the final path. And so, yeah, I saw that today. I'm like, yes, this is what it is.
Oh man, that's so funny. Now I have to watch Kung Fu Panda, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny too, because like in Kung Fu Panda, like Master Oogway gives Master Shifu a lot of advice on mindset and stuff. Really? You have to believe in yourself. Like, belief is, the answer is within you, like a lot of that came from Master Oogway to Master Shifu, who was like, but I can control everything, Yes,
so,
which was me.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. I'm definitely gonna have to watch Kung Fu Panda now. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. I don't know. I just have been, you have a little place, special place in my heart. So I'm so glad that you're thriving. And I'm so glad that you were able to turn it around so quickly. And I'm so glad you didn't have to go back and get a part-time job.
I'm so glad too. I
Or work at
love,
a content mill.
like, this is like the most supportive community. It's just like literally anytime I have a question about anything, like everybody comes from every corner of the world to just like help, and everybody's also like so nice too.
Yeah.
Like there's no rudeness ever, which is just beautiful. And I'm
Yeah.
also so happy to be on Circle. This thing's awesome. So
I know. Facebook had to go. Had to go. So,
yeah.
well, thank you guys also for being here. We appreciate you so much. And yeah, we'll see you all in the community. Thank you,
Yeah.
Lauren.
Thank you
Bye.
all. Bye.